Hello! In this video, we are going to talk about the past simple while we read about some classic stories in English. To begin, we have some vocabulary exercise first. It says, match the definitions to each word below. Here are the words, so pause the video please and complete the activity. I hope that you did complete the activity, and here are the answers. Chase is to pursue with intent to capture. Escape is another verb, to avoid capture or punishment. Naughty, which is an adjective, means disobedient or mischievous. Obedient is complying with or submissive to authority. And the other word is a verb, to observe. To spot is to observe or perceive suddenly. All right, so you're ready now to read the following summary of this classic story. What's the story? The Tale of Peter Rabbit. I'm going to read it with you. Mother Rabbit lived under a tall tree with her 4 rabbits, Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. So 3 sisters and 1 boy. One day she left and asked her children to stay away from Mr. McGregor's garden. Peter's sisters were very obedient, but he, being a naughty rabbit, disobeyed his mother and went to the garden. Once there, he ate a lot of vegetables and was not feeling well. Good thing for him. Oh, probably poor thing, I'm sorry. Mr. McGregor saw him and started chasing him throughout the garden. He was close to catching him several times. Peter felt scared and lost. Suddenly, he spotted the gate and, running as fast as he could, with Mr. McGregor still chasing him, he managed to escape and finally got home, still feeling sick and scared. That day, Peter learned that obeying his mother was a better idea. That is a good summary of the tale of Peter Rabbit. All right, let me ask you just some simple questions to make sure that you understood. Indicate which of the following sentences is the main idea of the story. The other sentences will be details of the story. Okay, here we have them. Which is the main idea? It means the statement that summarizes the whole story. And which are just secondary ideas or details. I'm going to pause my video. Why don't you think about it? And I'll show you the answers in a moment. Go ahead. Okay, hope that you paused the video and you have your answers. So the main idea is Peter was a naughty rabbit. Detail 1, Peter disobeyed Mother Rabbit. Detail 2, Peter went to Mr. McGregor's garden. Detail 3, Peter was chased by Mr. McGregor. Now, we are going to use this story to understand how the past simple works. So, in the affirmative, we have an example here. Mother Rabbit lived under a tall tree. As you can see, in this sentence, we have the verb lived, and lived is in the past form. Why? Because we know that it ends in ed, and regular verbs form the past tense ending in ed. That's the case with lived. But some verbs form the past using an irregular form. For example, in this sentence, Peter's sisters were very obedient. The verb be is irregular, and that's why it doesn't end in ed in the past. Right, we have another irregular verb here. Peter ate a lot of vegetables. So the verb eat has a past form, which is ate, doesn't end in ed, and was not feeling well. So was is irregular as well. Mr. McGregor was close to catching Peter several times. That's another irregular verb. As you can see, all we need to form the past simple is just to use the past form of the verb. We use the past simple in English usually when we know exactly when something or when an action took place. So that is something for you to remember when you need to decide whether you use the past simple or another past tense. For questions, for interrogative statements, we use an auxiliary as in any other question, and we can also start a sentence with an information word or phrase. Let's see some examples. Did Mother Rabbit live in the garden? Right? That is a yes/no question that starts with an auxiliary. And we have, where did Mother Rabbit live? So that is an information question that starts with an information word, where. And then we have the auxiliary and the subject. Let's see another example with the verb be. Were Peter's sisters disobedient? Yes or no? They were not. No, they weren't. What were Peter's sisters like? So in that case, we're asking for some specific information using what. All right? We answer those questions with information or with just yes, no. For example, were Peter's sisters disobedient? Yes, they were. That is a short answer. Or a long answer, yes, they were disobedient. What were they like? They were very obedient. Or, yeah, we need to provide the information. That's why we have what there, to ask for specific information. Now, to use negations in the past simple, we use an auxiliary as usual. In this case, for many verbs, we use did, and for verbs that are auxiliaries themselves, we just add not. For example, Mother Rabbit didn't live in the garden. They lived under a tall tree. Peter's sisters weren't disobedient. They were obedient. All right? If you need to review this topic, you can rewind the video and watch the explanation again. For now, I have a very simple activity for you, and it's about a story that I like very much. It's about Tom Sawyer. So here's the activity. Transform the following story, writing it in the past tense. The story is written using the present simple, and you are going to transform it to the past tense. So please pause the video, complete the activity, and I'll show you the answer in a moment. All right? Pause the video now, please. Okay, I hope that you really pause the video and transform that story into the past tense. I have some answer for you. Actually, this should be accurate. It is the answer. So it should be something like this, what you have in your notebook when you completed the activity. Tom Sawyer enjoyed getting into trouble. Enjoyed is regular and it ends in ed. One day, Tom met irregular Huckleberry Finn, who was equally mischievous. On one of their adventures, they saw, past tense of sees, saw that Injun Joe killed Dr. Robinson, but blamed another man, Matt Potter. So killed and blamed are regular. Then they both went to Jackson Island. We're talking about Tom and Huck. Once there, they realized that their families thought, as irregular, that they had drowned. They decided to play along and didn't reveal themselves, negation, until they entered the church during their funerals. In the end, you know that people thought that they were dead, so they were having a ceremony for the dead boys. In the end, Tom testified at Muff Potter's trial, exonerating him of Robinson's murder. The story ended happily as Tom and Huck discovered a box of gold. All right, so that is the rewriting of this story, of this summary of the story in the past tense. Now, I am going to pause my video so that you can listen to the pronunciation of the summary. And as you listen, please pronounce with a native speaker. All right? Here's the pronunciation. Please practice.
Tom Sawyer. by Mark Twain. Tom Sawyer enjoyed getting into trouble. One day, Tom met Huckleberry Finn, who was equally mischievous. On one of their adventures, they saw that Injun Joe killed Dr. Robinson, but blamed another man, Muff Potter. Then, they both went to Jackson Island. Once there, they realized that their families thought they had drowned. They decided to play along and didn't reveal themselves until they entered the church during their funerals. In the end, Tom testified at Muff Potter's trial, exonerating him of Robinson's murder. The story ended happily as Tom and Huck discovered a box of gold.
All right. So, thank you very much for that practice, for listening, and especially for practicing your pronunciation. Remember that to form the past tense, we have regular and irregular verbs, and for questions and for negations, we use auxiliaries, and for negations, we use the word not attached to the auxiliary. So, thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.